or simply asking the person who invited you here to this webinar today. We also invite you to visit a chapter meeting near you. In the Taguig region, we have about five, six chapters that are running with almost 250 business owners and professionals just waiting to meet you and explore ways that we can collaborate and do business with you. Um, for those who have not yet had the dubious pleasure of meeting me, I am your moderator for the afternoon. My name is Elbert Or. Professionally, I am the co-founder of Pushpin Visual Solutions, a design firm that specializes in transforming complex information into clear, concise, and visually engaging content. So I work with clients like World Health Organization, Forest Foundation, and UNDP. And my Ikigai is by using my drawings, my teaching skills, my facilitation skills to create moments of clarity and aha moments for others. My role for this afternoon is really to make sure that all of us get to engage and fully participate in the workshop so that we can also get the most out of it. Who we're really waiting to hear from is our facilitator for the afternoon. He is a professional, personal, and business growth strategist who helps people master the art and science of work-life integration. He has authored the book Emotion, the ultimate resource for success and lasting fulfillment, and is the founder and principal consultant at the Ikigai Training Consultancy. He's also currently a part-time MBA lecturer at Kalayan Educational Foundation, and his Ikigai is to learn, grow, and make a dent in the world. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our facilitator for the day, Carlo Martin. Hello, Carlo.
All right. Good afternoon, Elbert. Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you so much, BNI Iconic and BNI Taguig, for having this webinar masterclass. And I've really learned a lot from the previous webinars, of course. And right now, it's my turn to somehow share what I learned so far. So thank you so much for coming, guys. Most of us are BNI members in the room
Yeah,
right now, and the fact that you are here right now, I believe you also believe that people are your greatest assets, and understanding how to motivate them and really influence them to perform well is, I think, really important in these times of very very challenging times, right? So yeah, so can I just ask everyone here, of course, in terms of the title of this webinar, right? From purpose to high performance, right? So we understand that even though we are probably a solopreneur, or if we are managing 1,000 people in our organization, we believe that connecting with our human resources, our people, is really very important, right? So we understand that in this program, probably we have to understand why we have to connect first before we correct. So connection before correction. No? In the high performance to purpose, and understanding the purpose of our people and our own purpose will make us perform at the next level, right? So just quick ask everyone, so who among you are really understanding that our people is our greatest resource, even though probably not an employee but probably a team part of the team or supplier, or other stakeholders, right? Miss Mia Ragasa, right? We understand
yes,
100% with
raising her hand.
yeah,
Oh, everyone in the chat is also agreeing 100%, Carlo.
yeah.
Even my daughter says yes daw.
Sabi niya, kasama natin sa meeting yan lagi, di ba? Okay,
Oh,
so yeah, so we understand that connection is understanding their purpose, of course, connection before we correct. And then, so I'm going to share a lot of what I learned so far through my research, and also with my experience so far as an entrepreneur. I've gone through a lot in terms of my entrepreneurial journey, and of course, I'm my as mentioned by by Elbert. My Ikigai is learn, grow, and make a dent in the world. So discovered my Ikigai probably about 6 years ago. Later, I'm going to somehow share my the journey of the process of understanding my own purpose, right? And how it's helping me also to navigate in these very challenging times. Yeah, and of course with the help of my BNI family as all stars, right? Um, my purpose is really every day being uncovered, no? And serving my purpose. Harrison, yeah, thank you for coming, bro. Yeah, so yeah, next, can I, ano ba? Next slide. Yeah, so this is the overview in the short period that we are will be here. So I'm just going to share a few points in terms of why we need to have a purpose-driven team. A purpose-driven team are essentially high-performance team, right? So any team that achieve anything great in this world are purpose-driven. No? Later on, I'm going to share what are the components of purpose-driven team, and in terms of components, diba, in terms of purpose-driven, we need to have purpose-driven people in that team, right? So we'll understand the characteristics or habits of what we call as value creators in our team, and we also will understand why we need to start with why. Of course, most of us here probably are also a fan of Simon Sinek, or probably read his book, or probably watch one of his TED talks. Can I just get a raise of hand if you have some sort of understanding of that program? No, start with why, diba? Why we need to start with why. As I mentioned earlier, we have to really understand connection first before a correction. We have to build relationship with our team members before we tell the truth. And and the truth is, no team or no human being is perfect, especially organization. Diba? We need to really push forward, especially in these times of crisis. We need to sort of pivot or navigate our way. And sometimes, of course, in this process, di ba, drama will happen. People will not listen to us, or they might blame or complain with all the adjustments that they have to make in these times of crisis. So why it's important to really understand why they're doing what they're doing, right? So in his context, understanding the just cause, the important cause of the organization, and why it needs to be aligned with the purpose of the individual team members. And then, of course, it doesn't stop with understanding the purpose. We need to have, we need to monitor progress. We need to understand the performance. No, we need to perform as team members, and accountability is really an in thing right now. I mean, I've learned accountability in the past, as I mentioned by Elbert. I'm an MBA graduate, but really accountability in terms of you know you know understanding it, implementing it in my specific business. Really, BNI helped me understand the importance of really holding people accountable with with the things that they promise, right? So of course also accountability in
Siyempre,
terms of
that's
personal.
one of our core values. Eh.
Yeah, one of our core values, diba?
Our core
And
value.
I admit, as a leader, in the past, this probably is one of my sort of weakest link, probably holding people accountable. Sometimes personally, I have this challenge of really calling out people. But right now, as mentioned, this is really a core value of BNI, and it's really being sort of, I internalize it right now, that accountability is really very important. And then of course, putting it all together, why is it important to understand the purpose, and at the same time expect high performance in our team. So we all experience this, right? In terms of managing team players, right? We test it out, of course, the old, strategy of carrot and stick, we still use them, right? In terms of rewards and punishments. And it's still, for the longest time, it's been being used by management. But we all know as business owners that it doesn't work, no, in terms of sustainability. Understanding, in terms of the drama of the people in our organization, right? Walang organization na nakita ko na walang drama. Any organization, they're concerned with the sustainability of that organization will always have drama. And the worst thing is, of course, if the drama persists, and the blame game in terms of culture happens, right? So I'm going to share what I've researched, and of course what I applied in my organization. I'm not saying that in my organization there's no drama. It's far from it. But yeah, we have to embrace that there are times that there will be stressful situations that can really cause people blaming each other. But it's not the way to move forward, especially in these difficult times, right? So next slide. Right? So our objective, our intention in managing our organization is really, having the organization greater than the sum of its parts, di ba? In any organization, even in team sports, di ba? Who among you here are fans of, sports? Di ba? We know that
Uh,
high performing teams.
pwede bang nood lang ng sports, hindi laro ng sports,
Yeah,
Carlo?
nood lang, spectator. Ako lang spectator na lang. I can play basketball.
Magaling ako sa basketball. Manood. Magaling ako sa basketball, pero manood.
Yeah, manood. Magaling din ako manood. So,
Magaling ako
magaling din
manood.
ako manood ngayon. And I'm a fan of, for some, maybe LeBron James, or for me, I'm a fan of Steph Curry of Golden State Warriors, and also a fan of course, Michael Jordan, diba? So they say that organizations that really, achieve next level of greatness are really purpose-driven teams. And purpose-driven teams are composed of purpose-driven individuals. And once we have a great culture, and we mold them in terms of coaching them, mentoring them, and training them, these teams can really achieve high performing achievements. So as mentioned, teams are composed of individuals, no? So pagka mag-isa lang, definitely hindi yung team, 'di ba? So it should be composed of two or more individuals, no, serving a particular purpose, right? So next slide. So yeah, next slide. So as in terms of teams, we can categorize them. Of course, there are different types of team members, right? So we can categorize them in terms of the value that they can bring to the organization. So the first type of team member is what we call as the value creator. But the value creator, um, these are people who, you ask them to do 5 things, they will do 8 things. No, they will do the 5, with excellence, and then they will do more. So they do more than what is expected, and that's why they are called value creators. They create value for the organization, right? And so a lot of when we say value creators, they are really great assets of the company. Because value creators, although sabi nga ni Miss Jarna last time, na wala namang indispensable, but value creators, it's difficult to let them go because they create so much value in the organization. Di ba? So, yeah, those are value creators. So, they're assets in the organization, right? So, the second one is, of course, value reducers, right? So, yung value reducers, these are people who you ask them to do 5 things, they will do 5 things in 5 days. So they will do probably the first 3 things in one day, and then the next one probably in the next few months, if they will do it. Okay, so they're called value reducers because somehow they reduce the value of the team or the organization, right? And unfortunately, even though we say that people are our greatest asset, people can also be our liability. So value reducers, we can say that they are somewhat reducing the value of the organization, right? And then lastly is what we call as value sustainers, right? Value sustainers. So value sustainers, ito yung pagdating ng 5 o'clock, sakto yan, magme-makeup na yan, no? Kasi parang they are paid 4:59 daw. Oo. So 4:59. So medyo nakatingin na sa oras kasi they're paid for this number of hours. So they will only exceed or parang they will only exert effort based on what they are paid for. Diba? So they call that we call them value sustainers. Of course, they can still be an asset, but again, ano sila, very disposable na asset, no? Especially in a very in a situation wherein the company is struggling. Of course, you only want to maintain the value creators in the company, right? So, do you know any value creators in terms of your experience, in terms of managing your organization, right? So, you experience everyone, right? In terms of the 3 types: the value creators, the value reducers, the value sustainers. You experience them, and you yourself, I think, for most of us or all of us here in the room, we can consider ourselves as value creators. So which one are you? Sabi ni Elbert, are you a VC, a VR, or a VS? Or in terms of the colors, you can see the value creators, we call them so green siya, no? So sabihin in terms of traffic light, they are parang go, di ba? So they are go-getters. They are highly ambitious, di ba? They want to achieve more in less time. They want to produce results for the organization. Right? So, ayun, green. We're green in traffic lights. So, meron similarity pala sa BNI, no? For those na BNI members, we know our traffic lights, diba? And sabi nga ni YP Lai in his trainings, diba? When we see green, it means go. So, that means go. That means we can achieve faster our goals if we are in the green zone, diba? We are the value creator. So, can you just type in the chat box, what do you think are the habits of these high performers, or what we call as value creators? What do you think are, kasi malamang sa atin na nandito, you're all value creators. Tama ba, guys? Sometimes, like example, sana. Sana.
Yes.
Givers gain.
And givers, proactive members.
Proactive members, all right. So ito in a context of organization So ano yung mga habits kaya ng mga value creators? Early risers. Yun. May research about that, no? Yung mga billionaires daw, they wake up 5 a.m. Sabi nila, no? Sabi ni Robin Sharma. Accountable, right? Solutions focused. They ask questions. Organized. Submit reports ahead of time. Wow. They value
organized.
Hindi naman ang bilis. They value
Louis says
passionate.
Passionate, wow. Performer, critical thinkers. Yeah.
Vision, focus, strategy, team player. Nice. Keep it coming, guys. Performer.
Parang ang dali lang sa kanilang sumagot, Carlo, kasi they're just recognizing themselves. Tapos describe lang nila. Describe lang sarili.
Self-reflection lang.
Ano ba ako?
Smart goals, fast learners, of course, givers. Right?
So I have a question, Carlo.
Yeah.
What if, madali lang si value creator, pero what if I'm stuck with value sustainers and value reducers? So ano na gagawin ko ngayon?
Yun yung role natin ngayon as leaders. We want to somehow mentor, coach, and train people in our organization na sort of value reducers. Of course, sabi nga doon sa webinar last time, of course, the first step is really prevent people coming in, no? Value reducers sila, no? Pagpasok sa organization. Kasi pag nasa organization na, although sabi nga ni Ms. Jarna last time, 'di ba? They have 6 months to prove themselves. 'Di ba? But why have that pain of, letting in a team member that can be a value reducer, no? But assuming that they are already in the organization, and yeah, they somehow produce output na talagang below the standards of the organization, then definitely um, we'll share some of the things that how we can coach them and mentor them so that they can value creators. Kasi sometimes, of course, maraming mga diagnosis, but the purpose of our talk is of course purpose and high performance, right? So sometimes the question and the problem is not about achievement, but it's all about alignment. So in terms of expectations and in terms of the gifts, in terms of the purpose of that person may not be aligned in the organization, or maybe the purpose of that person and the mission of the organization is not clear, no? So sometimes ano yan eh, even in BNI context, no, a lot of members, they start as probably hindi man agad green, no? I know members who are started yellow, 'di ba? But eventually, because of emotional contagion, they realize what are the things that they need to improve on, and as long as they're open for suggestions and open for feedback, they can be value creators, right? So the problem is not sometimes, no, the problem is not really achievement, but sometimes alignment. But of course we have to diagnose, no, kung talagang it's a skill problem, then definitely minsan matagal talaga na training, or sabi nga ni Jim Collins, no, to be able to move from good to great organization, we need to have the right people in the bus, and the right people in the right seat of the bus. Sometimes the skill and the gifts or the wiring of that person is not suitable, for example, for accounting or for business development, and then nandun siya nakalagay, definitely merong misalignment, right? So ayun, so yeah, so that's the role of that's the role of us leaders. We want to train, mentor, and coach them to become value creators in the organization. And therefore, once they are value creators, we expect that the organization or the team can create value more than the sum of its parts, right? And so that's a really, I don't know, really important edge in terms of your organizational value proposition, diba? Especially right now that business is tough. We have to have that extra edge over our competitors. Of course, joining BNI can be our edge, but of course, more than that, of course, we have to train our team members to be sort of value creators. No, so sinabi natin kanina, no? So yung mga sinabi nyo, yan yung mga habits and nandyan, no? So what I learned from my mentor told me that to be able to be a value to an organization, the three things we need to really master in terms of the skill set, no? The first is personal mastery of personal skills, no? Personal mastery meaning the ability to bring out the best in ourselves, no, each and every day, right? So the ability to really master our thoughts, our emotions, the management of our resources, our time, diba? So this is the first mastery, people skill, personal skills. And the next one is no one can achieve anything without working with people. So the next level of skill is really people mastery or people skills. So the ability to bring out the best in people, people mastery, understanding what makes people tick in terms of how we can influence them so that we can move them from being just a value reducer or value sustainer to become a value creator. And then of course, sabi din ni Dr. Ivan Meissner, 'di ba, yung people, and then yourself, and then of course process mastery in terms of if you're a business owner, therefore understanding the mastery of business itself, the marketing, sales, diba, accounting, diba, HR. So that those are the three skills that we need to master, no? So in this webinar, we want to focus on the two, diba, yung konting personal mastery and then of course people mastery, because prerequisite kasi yung personal mastery dun sa people mastery. You cannot influence if you are not influenced yourself, diba? So you cannot ask people to do this if you are not also influenced by it, diba? For leaders, sabi nga ni Sarah Lee last time, diba? Everything rise and fall with leadership. 'di ba? So ayun, so these are some of the skills that we need to master, no, in terms of achieving anything. No? So going back to value creators, we have to understand, 'di ba? Ang tanong natin, ano ba 'yan? Nung pinanganak ba, green na ba? They bleed green or they're value creators agad, or is it about training, or is it a question of nature or nurture? No, is it about talent or is it about habit? 'Di ba? Or yeah, but and the research show that genius is less about genetics but more about the people we interact, the habits that we develop, our mindset, the choices that we make. So I believe, of course, genetics can play a role in of course our wiring. For example, if you are really a genius in terms of music, diba? Or the eight multiple intelligences, diba? Like kinesthetic, or logical, mathematical. So it's understanding what's your gift, but understanding also in an organizational context, a lot of this can be learnable, 'di ba? Like leadership, 'di ba? Showing up early, this can be nurtured. All right? So sabi nila in terms of research, depende, no? Kung saan ka titingin ng research, parang 10%, 20% lang talaga yung ang effect niya is because you are born with it, right? And as long as you have sort of a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset, a mindset that you believe that your intelligence is not fixed, that your intelligence can really improve with effort and practice, right? So yeah, we can improve, no, and become a value creator. Next is of course effect of culture. There are some people that highly affected by the culture inside an organization, 'di ba? Siguro ang classic example lang naman, like ang context ng for Filipinos, lagi nilang tinatanong, lagi nilang inobserve na, like, for most Filipinos, if you're in the Philippines, 'di ba, sometimes you're not disciplined in terms of littering, 'di ba? So ang question lang, bakit pag nasa ano sila, nasa Saudi for example, or nasa Singapore, they can be more sort of disciplined in terms of being mindful of the things, no? So definitely culture can really affect the habits of that person. And yeah, and culture is dictated by the leaders, of course, no, in terms of setting up the culture in terms of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, di ba? So the culture of organization can really make people thrive, no, especially the value creators, no. Some culture, they don't allow value creators to really thrive, because some organizations that I know, they are more of protective of, let's say family culture, diba? Or protecting some of the interest of the managers in that culture, no? So culture definitely can affect, no, kasi they can be value reducers, but if the culture is really great, katulad din na analogy natin for some sports, 'di ba? Some players can play well in a particular culture, but not, they can be, downgraded to G League, no, for those NBA enthusiasts, if they are not in the right culture. And then of course, clarity of purpose. As in the book of high performance habits, no. So the first habit is really seeking clarity of purpose, and that's why we're here today, no. So purpose can really just like a magnifying glass, can really use our resources so that we can focus on a particular thing that can really impact, can really make an impact, in terms of using our own talent. So if we're clear about who we are and why we do things, value creators can really excel well, right? And then mindsets of value creators, of course, I've mentioned, diba? The growth mindset, diba? Who among you have read the growth mindset book of Carol Dweck? Growth mindset. So the mindset is a growth mindset, no? Kasi may mga tao, no, even though they are talented, they have a fixed mindset, or sometimes they have a know-it-all mindset. They think that they know it already. 'di ba? Some people they parang sabi nila the cup is almost full. They don't empty the cup, 'di ba? And we call them in the research they call them the fixed mindset, no? Fixed mindset people. So the mindset of value creators are really for growth mindset. Yeah. So yun. Thank you, Elbert. Yeah, the new psychology of success, by Carol Black. This is a really classic book. I have this. Yeah, so mindset. Yeah. Yun na lang. So yeah, very important. So for those parents and of course leaders, it's a ano, no, it's a must read the book. Alam ko na yan, mindset, no? Know it all mindset. May mga ganyan, 'di ba? Um Definitely they will be value reducers eventually. They will not be value creators in the long run. Right? So and then of course, next slide. So next slide. Yeah, so yan. All value creators and as I mentioned, successful people who really achieve a lot of things in their lifetime, they follow this formula, sort of ultimate resiliency formula. I also learned from my mentor, 'di ba? That all value creators, they have bias, ano, no, to act, no? They take action. They take action and they you cannot use just, meditation to manifest whatever you want for your organization, 'di ba? We all know that we have to really, do our work, 'di ba? And of course, hard work is not enough, 'di ba? Hard work is not enough, but also understanding that we have to have a particular goal in mind, 'di ba? A particular goal that's really specific, that's really clarified, that's really, that can be measurable and can be time bounded, no? That is the goal, 'di ba? We have to set the goal, and then once we set the goal as an organization or as a personal use of this framework, you cannot just have a goal and then take action. No? You have to find a strategy, 'di ba? And once you have that strategy, then you take action, 'di ba? So there are two results, no, when you take action, no. It's either results that you don't want or results that you want and you call them success, 'di ba? Or the results that you don't want and most people they call them failure. No? But I believe and value creators believe that there's no such thing as failure. There's only this thing called learning experience or feedback. 'Di ba? Tama ba, guys? So yan, feedback. There's always a learning experience. So this framework helps us to really understand that it's not us. No? Of course, sabi nga natin, once we take action and we have goals, no, in mind, and most of the goals that we set, no, especially for value creators, because most value creators they set goals so high that they set themselves up for sort of failure. Pero value creators, they don't believe in failure. They believe that that's a learning experience. No, I only set goal that can stretch me. A lot of people they set goals that achievable or really within their capability. My mentor told me that you have to set goals that you cannot achieve with your existing mindset or your existing skill set. Of course, medyo medyo ideal, 'di ba? Medyo ideal 'yan, no, para mag-set ka ng goal. Kaya nga actually when I talk to people, pag tinanong ko, meron ka bang ambition or meron ka bang goal, no? Hindi naman ganoon yung pagkakasabi, no, when I talk to people, no. So I ask them of their ambition or let's say my students, no. I ask them about their life goals or their goal for the year, for example. And most of them they don't even have a goal in mind, no. Primarily um they don't want to be perceived as failure. Kasi for example, in our lifetime, most of us of course, we set goals na hindi natin achieve, no? Whether it's losing weight or having that financial freedom, 'di ba? Marami talaga tayong mga sinet na goals in the past na hindi natin na-achieve, no? And sometimes we don't feel yung ganong ano no, yung ganong feeling na we feel that we are a failure, 'di ba? And sometimes it's okay no to take those challenges personally, because we're going to learn from all of those pain. But yeah, the disclosure. But at some point we have to separate our sort of results from ourselves, no? So this framework can give us a framework that we can always change the strategy. No, there's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with the strategy that I use. So if I change the strategy and I use another effort or a particular mindset for that matter, um, I can eventually get the results that I want. Diba? So yeah, so it's a very powerful framework, visual framework for us to really understand that there's no such thing as failure in life. All right, and so people with growth mindset and people who are really believe in themselves as they are the hero of their own lives, no? Sabi nga ni Direct Pau, 'di ba? They believe that we can always change our strategy, and the best way to really discover strategy is really modeling, no? Modeling. Most of the time the goals that we set, someone already achieved that goal. And sabi nga nila, success leaves clues. And understanding, di ba, that a lot of, like for example, writing a book or achieving a particular net worth or a particular market share in the organization, there is already someone out there that already achieved that goal that we want, and we just have to understand their blueprint and model them, no? Not copy, no? Model meaning you take the best parts and then apply it to your own context, diba? So the goal, strategy, and action is the ultimate resiliency formula. So most of the time we know what to do, we know how to do it, but we still don't do it, diba? So yung taking action is really for value creators. They are sort of in charge of what I call as emotional state, because action, before we take action, we need to have that emotional state, diba? Or so sorry pala. So beliefs and values. Okay, so yung goals are guided by our beliefs about ourselves, about other people, about our products, diba? These are beliefs. And then values, some people believe in security, some people believe in family. So understanding what's our core value, and then understanding who we are and why we do things. So that's our Ikigai. So that can drive what goals that we want to achieve, no? So that's part of the success formula, right? So yeah,
Right,
so that's
right
right.
now we've been hearing a lot from
Sorry,
Carlo,
yeah.
and there's a lot of insight and learning so far. But
Yeah.
before we proceed, are there any questions or insights so far? It's now 5:45, and
Yeah.
so Topher here has a question.
Yeah.
Carlo, how much should you, as an individual, focus on growing your career or personal mastery at a time when just keeping a job or keeping a business afloat can feel like a triumph? Like, kunwari ngayon, di ba? Nasa pandemic tayo. So
Yeah.
is it okay to take a moment of pause, or should we always be thinking about how do I get myself in a position for the next opportunity?
Yeah.
So I'm sure
So
you have an answer to that.
yeah.
Thank you, Topher,
Yeah,
for the
thank
question.
you, Topher, for the question. Yeah. So so understanding that sometimes, I'm not a plantito, but the analogy of, pruning, sometimes, pruning is part of growth. So ay pang Miss Universe. Pruning is part of growth. But later on, I'll going to discuss what are the sort of emotional patterns that people tend to to favor. So there are 6 emotional patterns, so emotional needs. But in general, like for example, for me, I'm more of driven by growth. But also understanding that sometimes downsizing, like also understanding the environment, the situation is also part of growth. All right. So an
Since you
analogy,
bring up
you know,
since you bring up the needs, Carlo, do you want to just skip ahead and show the six needs para maybe mas madaling masagot yung question ni Topher?
sige. Yeah. Yeah. We
Ayan,
can
pakita na natin.
yeah. Yeah.
Ayan, ito.
So yeah, so as mentioned kanina, 'di ba, our emotional states, 'di ba? We think we are logical, no, but research show that we are more of emotional people rather than logical people, no. So um, in terms of our growth of our brain, 'di ba, yung prefrontal cortex, which is the executive function of our brain, this is the logical part of our brain, medyo later siya na-develop, 'di ba? So that's why a lot of us make a lot of mistakes during our teenage years, 'di ba? Tapos you look back and you reflect, bakit ko ba sinagot yung isang tao na to, no? Parang minsan may mga ganun kang questions in your mind. But because you are basically you haven't developed that decision making skills, diba? So but of course, you know, the drivers of these emotional needs, no? We all have these six human needs. All right? Six human needs, no? Yung certainty, yung need natin to be certain, to be secure, diba? To be safe. Diba yung certainty. Of course, God, this is based from the ano, no? So hindi yan sa akin galing, no? This is based from Anthony Robbins teachings, diba? These are the six human needs. So sabi nga natin, awareness is the first step to change, diba? And understanding what's our drivers. Of course, sabi ko nga, these are all human needs. So we all have these needs. But sometimes in terms of magnitude or in terms of yung weight, in terms of sa atin, will differ. Diba? Yun. So some people, they are highly in terms of certainty, safety. So karamihan, for example, my government employees na student in my MBA courses, mataas yung kanilang need for certainty. Of course, sa BNI, yung pangalawang need, marami sa mga entrepreneurs need nila yung uncertainty, yung variety. Diba? Kasi minsan kung masyado namang certain, minsan boring, diba? So, yun. So, the need to have adventure, the need for the unknown, yung changes in terms of, adventure, diba? And then, yung third is significance. The need to stand out, the need to feel unique and important, no? And most of the salespeople that I know and high achievers that I know, they are so driven by significance. My mentor is also driven by significance. No, my mentor is Adam. I'm going to share later on. So, so significance. So, ayan. And then yung pang-apat is connection, love and connection. So the strong feeling. So sometimes may differences o parang minsan may yin and yang yung significance and connection. Sometimes if you have a very strong sense of connection or love, you don't want to stand out. Diba? So the feeling of closeness or union with a particular organization or a particular person. And then yung fifth and sixth need is growth and contribution. Growth, the need to keep learning, to expand, to have that capability of understanding the world. Diba? So that's growth and nandito yata si Jason, si Jayton, sorry. I think he's one of his driver is really contribution, a sense of service and focus on helping, giving, and support to others. So yung Mother Teresa na need, no? So, yeah, and understanding kung ano ba yung drivers mo, no? Wala namang mali or tama dito sa mga drivers na to, no? It's how you are wired, diba? Like for me, I'm driven more of love and connection. Love and connection, and then of course, growth. So the essence of showing you this slide is, of course, as leaders, we have to understand the emotional needs of our people, 'di ba? Kung significance yung kanyang need, bigay mo yung significance, 'di ba? You want to 'di ba? You want to recognize them as often as possible, 'di ba? And recognition is one of the core values of BNI, 'di ba? And I believe that a lot of the BNI members here, 'di ba, if we are truly honest with ourselves, a lot of us are probably driven by significance. And there's nothing wrong with that. As I've mentioned, a lot of those value creators and really successful people that I know, they are, driven by significance. Yeah, it's like a modified ano of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So this one is a lot easier, more practical to really apply to your people. Of course, there are a lot of profiling tools that you can use to understand more about your people, di ba? There's this analysis, ang daming profiling tools ngayon, no? Ano ba? Yung Enneagram, di ba? And a lot of those profiling tools, understanding people and what makes them tick, di ba? So in our organization, normally, sabi nga nila, if we can meet the need of our people or probably uh, meet at least 3 or 4 of these needs to our people, then our organization can be sort of addictive, di ba? They want to stick, they want to contribute because kahit naman anong logic, 'di ba? Sabi nga natin, emotionally we can we can connect with them. And when they are meeting those emotional needs in an organization, they would want to stay and they want to contribute in that organization. Tama ba? So if they feel yung safety, and then of course sometimes you have adventures, you have trips, you have in BNI we are meeting all of these 6 needs, to be honest, no, in terms of the emotional needs, diba? Certainty, it's certain that we will start at 7 a.m. diba? You will be late at 7:01. So it's certain and certain that you'll get referrals if you do your work, or if build that relationship first, diba? Uncertainty, every week you have visitors, we have visitors, diba? And so on and so forth. The significance, as I mentioned, love and connection, it's always felt, no? BNI family, as mentioned, we say that BNI is our family. Diba? Growth, trainings, in terms of leadership position, you can grow, and then of course contribution. During the pandemic, a lot of activities done by the BNI Taguig and the BNI as a whole, to contribute to those who are marginalized, right? So if we can provide that in our organization, then definitely our people will definitely stick. But going back to the question of Topher about choosing between surviving and really growing. So it depends on your emotional needs, right? So it depends on your emotional needs. And as long for me, my guiding principle is, every time I decide, am I deciding based on my self-preservation needs, or in terms of my contribution, or probably my Ikigai, no, yung sinasabi natin kanina. Later on I'll discuss about Ikigai. So yeah, so that's my guiding principle. And if in terms of my deathbed, in my deathbed, if I will regret some of the things, probably in terms of what are the things that we didn't do, diba? While we are still, really, have that energy. No, so yeah, moving on. Ano na pala? What's the time? Yeah, for in the chat box, can you just share what are your type the top 2 emotional needs? Can you share in the chat box? Personal mastery means creating productivity at work.
So once again, we'd like to ask you, what are your top 2 emotional needs? So please type it in the chat.
Yeah, if
And
you can
Carlo will
share.
try to fulfill those needs by 6:30. yun yung brand promise ni Carl. We'll fulfill your emotional needs by 6:30.
Yeah, emotional needs. Later on, pag di ko talaga na-fulfill, I'm just going to dance na lang. Okay lang.
Ayun yung uncertainty ba yung fino-fulfill mo? Parang hindi ko kasi sure kung ano mangyayari pag sumayaw ka eh.
Oo, di ba? Hindi natin alam. Alright, significance. Si Bilis, Joanne. Yeah. Rajesh. Yeah, contribution. Right. So, as mentioned, di ba, understanding ourselves and also understanding people. There will be, of course, indications of what are the drivers of our people. No? But for example, most of the time, if you're in a sales organization, definitely variety and significance, probably there, nasa top nila yan. And then, of course, some of them are, of course, growth oriented, of course. All right, Beverly,
All
growth and
right.
contribution. Wow. All right. So, yeah, next slide. Significance and growth. Yun, tama. So yun, purpose-driven, understanding our purpose, 'di ba? Yung inner work is really very tricky, 'di ba? Yung inner work. So sabi ni Mark Twain, hindi yan si Phil Jackson, sorry. Hindi yan si Phil Jackson, siya si Mark Twain. So sabi niya, okay lang. Sabi niya, the two most important days in our lives or in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. So it's we always hear this, 'di ba? And it's really true, 'di ba? And understanding why we are here, 'di ba? The reason for our existence. So imagine, during the time that you were conceived, 300 million cells of your dad was, was produced during that time, and you were the chosen one to really swim in that valley of death, 'di ba? In the V of your of your mom, di ba? And therefore there's a particular reason probably why you were chosen to be the one alive, no? Instead of your 300 million other brothers and sisters, di ba? So yeah, and understanding that it's really continuous work. So it's a continuous inner work for me. Probably I learned this probably in 2014, 2015 when I really examine what really am I here for, what's my reason for being. So yeah, and sometimes it's tricky, and a lot of people, they would rather, talk about other people than really do that self-examination. Diba? That's why, a lot of haters in social media, mas gusto nila makialam ng mga ibang tao rather than, dealing with their inner, demons and inner, understanding themselves more, right? So yeah, so I encourage you to really have that, whether it's a retreat or attending our courses, no, finding your Ikigai, diba? So I found my reason for being, and it's really a continuous process. No? I'm not saying that this is final, no. I still discover more about myself, no. So I am gifted quickly, just to share. I learned that, I'm really a passionate teacher. No, I after graduation, I'm a college instructor, no, teaching chemistry. But yeah, when I had this opportunity to franchise this program na they call the I Am Gifted program, it's really a transformational program for kids. And we teach kids how to really understand, personal mastery, learning mastery, and then people mastery. So the ability to bring up the best in themselves. So, and it's quite, experiential program for kids. And it was the first time that was run in the Philippines. No, I started this program courting the company, Adam Cooler Knowledge Group, to be here in the Philippines since 2013. No, but after 2 years of negotiation, we were finally able to bring this program in the Philippines. And a lot of testimonials from our participants, specifically for parents, no, yung mga tipong sasabihin na first time nila magwales sa bahay, or first time mag-say ng I love you yung son ko sa akin. So those are some of the testimonials na talagang really made me clarified my purpose. And di nila alam, the first undertaking, nung I Am Gifted in the Philippines was really a huge financial loss for me, because it's quite expensive program. It's really first time talaga ma-introduce in the Philippines to have a very intensive program for kids, right? So but it worked for for a lot of years until this pandemic, no, na wherein we cannot really perform experiential training programs for really to make an a massive impact to our participants. And so we do only online programs, but not as as effective as doing it live, no? Parang for example, parang concert, 'di ba? You would want to, let's say, pay for a concert, for example, of Taylor Swift na live, 'di ba? Not broadcast, no? The impact is not the same, right? So anyway, yun. So I discovered my understanding that that I'm really a learner, and I have this passion to grow and really teach these things, no? So yeah, moving forward, next slide, next slide. So this is the first I am gifted, and then other programs by the company, well programs, um, yeah, until we parted this year. Diba? So this was the second training that we did. No, we have 80 plus participants, no, in the room. And even last 2 weeks ago, no, one of my friend na nag-enroll yung anak niya, I think kilala nito first, si Ronnie, called me and said thankful for the I Am Gifted program because his son, studying in Ateneo right now, became second honor because of the I Am Gifted. And you say, no, it's not the I Am Gifted, no, it's your son really. We just showcase or show them some framework that they can use to really um, manage or really exceed their full potential or meet their full potential. All right. So yeah. So this framework, of course, you can do reflections. You can attend, retreats. But this framework that we can use to really understand what's our purpose, diba? Our reason for being. So this book called Ikigai, no? And the framework is really understanding what we're good at, the mission, no, and the passion, and the vocation and the profession. Sabi nila that the intersection of that is our ikigai, our reason for being. And for most people, it's quite difficult. Sabi nila parang hirap naman yata na mahanap, ma-discover yung aking ikigai. No? Sa ikigai, when you discover, these are the moments wherein work doesn't feel work, no? You are flowing. You are not forced to do things because internally you're motivated to do it. Because, diba, gusto mo siya, and at the same time, you're earning from it. And you love it, and then of course, you're impacting other people. Diba? So, who among you, si Zarina attended the Ikigai, Ikigai session. So, among you have discovered your Ikigai? Si Elbert kanina, na-share yung Ikigai niya. Can you share again your Ikigai, Elbert?
Shepherd clarity. Gusto kong tulungan silang hanapin yung aha moment nila.
Yeah, with your gifts, diba?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So
Well,
essentially,
the nice thing about it, Carla, I think it should help to mention that one of the powerful learnings I had as far as Ikigai is concerned, whether it's for me or for your employees as well, hindi siya job description specific.
yep.
So with myself, for instance, whether it's in my capacity as an illustrator, as a designer, as a children's book author, or even now that I'm moderating this, my sense is I can actually fulfill that purpose pa rin of helping people understand and have a sense of clarity and get those aha moments no matter what it is that I'm doing. So nag-a-align lahat yun. Masaya.
Yes. Correct. Galing. Thank you for that, Elbert. No, kasi yun yung gift mo eh. Di ba? At buti na lang yun yung gift mo kasi tulungan mo ako to edit my slides. All right? So that's your gift, di ba? Ano ba nangyari?
Yeah. All right. So at this point, it is now 6:05. I want to just do a quick check-in with everyone. Can I ask all of you to please turn on your cameras and remind us that you still exist on the other side of this workshop? Ayan. Kumaway naman kayo ng konti. Ayan. I'm seeing some lovely faces. Hello, hello. Ayan. And now, please just raise the number of fingers. Mukha namang kompleto fingers nating lahat. How's your energy level at this moment? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. So, kamusta ang energy level ninyo right now? Taas ang kamay in 3, 2, 1. Ayan, we have 2 hands popping up. Nice. Okay, ayan. Thank you so much. Si Mia nag-thumbs up lang. I hope that doesn't mean na nasa 1 yung energy ninyo. Uh, all
Sobrang high
right, thank you
energy
so
niyan.
much. Okay,
Feeling the fit.
because I just mentioned rin naman my Ikigai kani-kanina lang, let me just also check in with everyone. What are your biggest aha moments or insights so far in this workshop?
Yeah.
Are there any who would like to share? You can do this via chat or I can
Yes.
always just volunteer you. Kasi para lang naman classroom to eh. Kung sino yung hindi nag-eye contact, sila yung tinatawag ng teacher, di ba?
Tawag.
Um, Tingin kayo sa akin bigla, oh. Tingin sa camera bigla yung mga tao. Yung iba nagsara ulit ng camera. Nice. Sige, I'll check the chat para naman hindi kayo ma-pressure. Any learning so far? Just type it in the chat. Ayan. Some kind
Ayan.
words for Carlo. Galing mo raw. Truly appreciate imparting your expertise. Oh, itong
Yep.
masterclass is
Thank
like 2
you.
days worth. Pinagkakasya niya in 1.5 hours.
Grabe. Next Kasha. Thank you for
Oo eh.
for the feedback niya.
All right.
Yeah. All
Sige,
right. So,
I will volunteer two people lang, Carlo, to just unmute
yeah.
themselves. Kitin, can I ask you to please? um, ikaw ang pinagpala. Any aha moments or even questions that you might
Yeah.
have that we can take the time to address?
Okay. Ayan. So, this is like an epiphany kasi the other day, I was going through this, itong Belvedere ko and may ganyang circle Ikigai. So I just finished my Ikigai diagram and I realized that I'm on the right track, that I listened to my intuition, and being in BNI, parang it connects everything. So whatever I learn here at BNI, I apply it to my profession and my professional life. So thanks, Carlo, for
Yeah.
reminding us this
Yep.
Ikigai.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you, Kitin.
also, Kitin, for sharing your insights. I want to read out some responses in the chat. So Hazel says the types of members and the types of mastery was a great learning. Zarina says it's important to always keep in mind the 6 human needs. Oo nga naman. So thank everyone for your answers so far. Please keep them coming in the chat. And we'll turn our attention back to Carlo for this next part of
Yeah.
the workshop. Carlo?
All right. So, understanding the who and the why, understanding yourself first, understanding the person behind that, spreadsheet na in terms of KPIs, diba? We humanize people and we understand what's their purpose and what understanding their emotional needs, and then therefore when we understand them, we can connect with them, and when we connect with them, it's easier for us to really sort of mentor them and mold them to a place or to a function that we really need them to perform at their best, no? So and then of course in terms of stress, so yan, as mentioned, these are some of the habits and parang mindset or skills ng mga tao na nasa value creator, and I see that value creators, they somehow parang minamani nila yung stress, no? Parang manin sa kanila yung stress, and I'll share, no, in terms of how they view stress, not as really a source or a culprit of their health concerns, but really understanding that stress can be an agent of, growth. All right? So, ako rin nung dati, no, parang you want to avoid stress kasi parang nag-stress ka, di ba? Parang nagka-palpitate ka, di ba? Parang you cannot think clearly, di ba? And a lot of us are in a very stressful situation right now because of this pandemic, right? But I would like to show a particular framework so that we can somehow use stress as an agent for change. The engineer in me, iba yung stress, may tinatawag na stress test for materials, di ba? So for example, this material, di ba? So if you want to understand yung kanyang yung stress level niya na pwede siyang bumigay, kailangan natin ng stress test, di ba? We have to apply force in this material so that malaman natin kung kailan siya magbe-break, di ba? And we can measure that. All right? So that's the force per unit area. So yan, hindi naman tayo may exam tayo sa math, na, but I would just like to understand na as people, we also have stress levels, di ba? And we can somehow compare stress in terms of force, meaning our responsibility, our responsibilities, the forces that we are being pulled, like by our, you know, our work, by our, you know, the obligations that we have. Diba? So these are the forces. But at the same time, the more responsibility that we have, we can also equate force as sort of our blessings. Diba? Our revenue, our income. Diba? And so, for example, your stress level right now is, for example, 7, no? 7, or, and then of course your force, we can quantify that. For example, in terms of employees, you can say that your stress level, you are valued to have like a monthly salary of say 50,000 pesos. But you want to achieve more, or you know, to have an income, diba? A better income. No? So you want to have at least you know, 100,000 in the next, example, 2 years or a year, diba? So that means if we don't grow our area, the particular area, that means if we grow our blessings double, the stress level that we will feel definitely will also be double. Tama? So the reality is, of course, understanding our stress level. Of course, ayaw naman natin na, for example, kaya mo lang is 1 to 10, kaya mo lang hanggang 8. You force yourself na maging 10 or baka maging 11, di ba? So the reality is, of course, we don't you know, stop the blessings, but of course, we just have to grow the area. And the area is our comfort zone. The area is our skill set. The area is our mindset. The area is our comfort zone. So once we develop ourselves, we can take more force, or we can take more contributions, or we can take more blessings without really increasing further our stress. The stress level sometimes, of course, is also driven because we want to have more blessings as fast as possible, diba? And in physics, diba, yung force is equal to mass times acceleration. No? Again, wala namang exam for physics, but the faster that we want to achieve a particular thing, the faster we need to grow ourselves so that yung stress level we can maintain. Diba? So right now,
so stress as an agent of growth.
Yeah,
right.
Stress can be
Thank
an
you.
agent of growth. Yeah, as mentioned, diba, stress can be an agent for us to increase our performance, diba? Kung wala naman masyadong stress level, definitely parang boring naman yung activity, diba? But too much stress can also be if we can if our mental health cannot handle it, definitely can also lead to anxiety and overwhelm. Diba? So just a reminder that there's an optimization always, diba? We cannot take too much of blessings if we cannot handle and really you know, as mentioned, if we cannot handle those blessings. No? So sabi nga, 'di ba, sa mga research, yung mga nananalo sa loto, 'di ba, eventually because of that blessing and they weren't able to grow themselves in terms of managing those kinds of resources, they will go back to dun sa kanilang level ng kanilang thinking because they weren't able to grow as a person. But anyway, for individuals, as performers, as value creators, stress and BNI, of course, part of BNI, stress will be part of our lives, and we have to embrace that there will be stress in our lives. It's just a matter of being better at stress. So value creators don't avoid stress. They are better at stress. All right. So yun.
Yeah. So what will
All right.
come next is
next is, of course, this one is in the individual level, no? So as I mentioned, individuals are value creators in our organization, diba? As an organization, we also have to understand why is it that sometimes our people, even though sometimes they're value creators, they don't perform well in terms of the team context, diba? So because sometimes the cause is, of course, the first cause is next slide. So, ano natin, the first cause is they are not really clarified with the goal of the organization. Next is they don't know how to achieve the goal. Diba? And then number three, they don't keep the goal. They don't measure, or they don't know they don't keep the score. Diba? They don't know where they are right now. And then of course, they don't hold people accountable. All right? So as mentioned last week, then yung SMR, di ba? Dito yung sinasabi natin. So pwede natin sabihin na tied up with that concept, di ba? We really need to have a clarified goal, and this execution in terms of high performance teams is developed, no, by the Covey group. The book is entitled The Four Disciplines of Execution. Yeah, so understanding that, if we have a lot of goals in mind, or organizational goals, not the thing is, most of the goals may not be achieved, no, to that level that we wanted to achieve. So the more clarified our goals, the better, no? So like Apple, in his famous speech, no, si Steve Jobs, he said the discipline is not really to have a lot of goals, no, but to really understand what are the top 3 goals that can create us 80% or 90% of the results, no? So it's important to focus on the WIGs, so the widely important goals. And more often than not, if we only have 3 goals at a time, most of the time we can achieve those goals. And then discipline number 2 is act on lead measures. Sometimes we don't know if we are losing or winning. Lead measures can really make us understand where we are right now. So for example, our goal is sales, or goal is of course recruitment, or goal is market share. These are what we call as lagging measures, lagging indicators, because you can only know if you achieve the goal during the fact. No, kunyari kung December 31, 2021, that's a lagging indicator already, because that's the goal. And you don't know whether you're achieving it or not. No? So it's very important, what are the steps for us to achieve that goal. So yun yung mga tinatawag natin na leading indicators or lead measures. So in the case, for example, for sales, how many approach, diba? How many emails, or how many presentations that you made. So these are measures that we can, control, and therefore we can report, diba, to our organization, diba? So discipline number 3 is really understanding that we need to have a compelling scoreboard, diba? It needs to be seen by the team members. Now, even though we are virtual right now, it's very important that we know where we are. So in terms of BNI, we know where we are in terms of the lead measures. Our lead measures are, let's say, for example, one-to-ones, the CEUs, the referrals. These are all lead measures, so that we can achieve the goal of achieving on a particular goal na, for example, 10 million or 5 million per seat per member, diba? So the goal is a lagging indicator, but we can act on lead measures. And it's very important that the scoreboard, we know the scoreboard. We know whether we are winning or we are losing, and ano yung effort na pwede natin na gawin, no? If we are off track. Diba? And then of course, lastly is, of course, we need to have huddles, we need to have accountability, we need to have a cadence of accountability, no? Hindi pwede na parang emotionally ito, hindi pwede mag-meeting ngayon, diba? So it needs to be set as a culture. It needs to have, like, for example, Tuesday 7 a.m. This will be our accountability huddle. Whether you don't feel it or you feel it, you don't feel it or you are motivated to do it, you will do it, because there's a cadence of accountability. And cadence of accountability may be somehow frightening for some people, but these huddles, of course, if managed and structured well, and can really generate us, the results that we want. Because ayaw naman natin napapahiya sa ka-group, sa mga ka-teammates natin eh. And if we are held accountable for our performance or outcome that is expected of us, we tend to move from our comfort zone into our high performance zone. All right, so it's very important to have that cadence of accountability. In during the pandemic, a lot of companies even do daily huddles or daily check-ins because the environment is really changing, no? Hindi natin alam, no? Ngayon medyo mas nag-stable na yung environment, and some people they do weekly huddle, some people they still do the daily check-ins, so the daily huddle. And it doesn't need to be very long meetings, no? Kailangan on point. What's the target? Of course, the first part. Actually, in our power team, we also do weekly sort of huddle, accountability huddle of our ask and our contribution. But in terms of high performing teams, yung first part is of course having that sort of rituals, no, that can really connect the team members to each other, especially in these times, diba? So not just sabi natin purpose to high performance, no. Hindi pwede na parang correction lang ng correction, wala na tayong connection, no. Although for leaders who build relationships and discipline, discipline among members, of course, discipline comes from the word, sabi nila, discipleship. So we ask for our people to be more disciplined because they believe in the vision of the company, the why of the person, or the why of the leader, diba? And they will be naturally attracted to the compelling cause of that organization. All right? And then of course, accountability pa din. Diba? We really need to measure performance. So I'm not saying that just why, no, puro tayo why, no, but we really need to understand the why, no, sa golden circle ni Simon Sinek, the why, and then the how, and then the what. We don't start with what agad, no? Ano yung kailangan natin gawin, no? We start always with why, diba? All right? So they will be so that they will be internally motivated.
So,
all right?
Carlo, just to show lang siguro how there is a distance or a gap nga between finding your purpose and executing on it, diba? We have a comment here in the chat box from Marilyn saying na she noticed daw that the present day generation easily gives up. Even though they seem to have found their purpose, they let go easily. Kasi they say they're stressed daw, so their parents tell them to resign. Oh, so you having worked with children na rin, right?
Yeah.
Both really young kids and even college, and having taught and even in your talks, meron kang mga young workforce na nakakausap. What are your comments on that one?
Yeah, we have to examine din, no? Kasi I have a sort of a client, no, na ganyan din. High performer siya during college and even the first few years of her work. And suddenly naging siya, talagang na-distress, no, bata pa, millennial. Two sides no? The person or the organization. Diba? Sometimes talaga may mga organization na they don't care about the well-being of the people. We just want talented people, and if you're not cut in our program, then you have to succeed elsewhere, diba? In some organizations, like again BNI, we nurture, we mentor people na baka lost pa lang, diba? So sometimes it's a question, maraming levels eh. It can be a question of belief system or a question of perceiving stress, diba? Or parang being better at stress. So, for example, stress, no, growing yourself, no. Hindi agad mental eh. Sometimes the basic things eh, like being better at stress is understanding your vitality, your physical, your health. And sometimes as basic as no sleep, kunyari, or kunyari hindi quality yung sleep, can really hijack our brain into you are already stressed while in fact your performance is just level 3 lang dun sa expected na level 5. So sometimes it's a question of belief or sometimes it's a question of skill. All right? And sometimes sa question of parenting, 'di ba? And unfortunately, in our programs I am gifted, yun nga eh. Siyempre mahirap mo sabihin na the parents need to enroll. But we do provide with trainings for parents. Because sometimes the parents masyadong nabibirin yung mga ibang kids. No? So parang ang kanilang perspective, yung mga parents ng perspective nila, nahirapan ako, nahirapan ako nung bata ako. I don't want my kids to experience the same trouble or challenge, no? So a lot of these kids na-enroll lang din ay sort of soft, sabi nila. But it's because of the conditioning that they cannot handle all of those challenges. They perceive them as as I always share this, no, when we are young pa lang, we're always in the self-preservation mode. Lahat naman tayo, we are in the selfish mode, diba? Lagi yan eh, because we're designed to be selfish, diba? Kasi you don't have the capability to decide on your own. You need to have the help of your parents, diba? But as we grow older, we understand eventually that it's not just about us. It's not about me, my needs, diba? Eventually, we will learn that, the needs of other people also matter. And understanding yung dynamic equilibrium, the giver's gain, diba? You also give and you will receive your needs also. Diba? And for some,
Napaisip tuloy ako kung paano ko pinapalaki yung mga anak ko, Carlo.
oo nga. Yeah. So dito sa mindset ni Carl Dweck, meron din siyang mga studies and how to parent better.
Oh, may chapter rin siya on parenting.
Yeah. So next slide. Ano yung next slide? Yeah. So yan yung tanong natin sa kanila, no? If may question or may ano. Actually, natanong na yata natin kanina, no? What are the lessons resonating with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
we've been hearing the comments naman in the chat box. But if there, at this point, we're nearing the end of our workshop, let's just revisit this question again. Anyway, not everyone was able to answer kanina. So what lesson resonated with you the most today? Can you please, can you type it in the chat, please? Ayan, paunahan tayo. Para hindi tayo nagkokopyahan na sagot. So type it in the chat. What lesson resonated with you the most today? And while you are typing that, I will also call on someone randomly ulit.
yeah.
Benz, maybe I can ask you to unmute. Are you still there? Are you still here with us? Ben Sia.
Hi.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. So Benson, what resonated with you the most today?
Well, I go back to leadership. I go back to what Serili said, how the organization rises and falls, and how everything that Carlo mentioned today kind of fits with that mindset that it's leadership. Hindi ako makatulog nung nabasa ko yung kay Serili. So it bothered me, and today's session gives it more meat. How we can go about fulfilling the needs of our people. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and you're right, Benz, it does go back to the self kasi you can't naman give what you don't have, right? So as leaders, we also have to, practice our own Ikigai, find ways to execute on that purpose and model that behavior for our people, no? We have a lot of responses in the chat box. Thank you for the inputs. Si Barbie is waiting for your next webinar na, Carlo. Nice. Thank you, Barbie.
Yeah.
Connect before correct, sabi ni Luigi. 6 human needs. It starts with the goal, sabi ni Topher, and then execute on the goal. And the fact that there are frameworks, I think they really appreciated that. No, Carlo, how do you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, so the last slide. Sabi nga sa BNI, we end with a quote.
Oh.
Yan, si Phil Jackson na yan, totoo na yan. Diba? So, favorite team, one of my favorite teams sa NBA, so Chicago Bulls and Los Angeles Lakers. So, one of the most highly decorated coach sa NBA. Sabi niya, good teams become great ones when the members trust each other enough to surrender the me for the we. So it's all about not just my needs. Of course, I want to fulfill my needs within the team, but the team is more important than my needs. Of course, kung mas maganda kung talagang magkasama sila, no? And understanding our role, no? Are we in terms of our guide, our gifts, are we maximizing those gifts in that role that we have right now? Diba? In great teams, always lahat sila, even though may mga role players like Steve Kerr or Rodman, they fulfill all of those potentials. So they are the rebounders, Jordan, the greatest player of all time, will not succeed without the help of Scottie Pippen or Phil Jackson. So understanding sacrificing our some of the ego needs for the higher goal of the team is really important. Right? So yun lang. Thank you so much for the invite again. Ang galing. Thank you so much BNI Iconic, Elbert, tsaka lahat ng team sa nag-create na si Attorney Class, si PD. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. So thank you, everyone. Let's give Carlo a round of applause. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for questions because it's now 6:35 p.m. But we hope that you are able to get so many new insights and also practical techniques and tips from Carlo. If you do have any questions, I will volunteer on Carlo's behalf his email address. In fact, meron kaming pabaon para sa inyo. So the gift that Carlo has for everyone is that he is offering a free 30-minute strategy session for the first 21 people, kasi 2021. So for the first 21 people who email ikiguideph@gmail.com, so hindi nyo kailangan gayahin yung subject line na sinulat ko dyan kasi wala lang, natuwa lang ako. Pero kung gusto niyo, then you can. Sulat nyo sa subject line, Ikiguide me please. And then Carlo will guide you towards the destination that you are meant to be in. So thank you, everyone. If you do have any questions, you can also feel free to ask Carlo via email. And then in turn, we also want to ask for a gift from you as well. So please, we ask for the gift of feedback. Type in the URL on your browser, or you can also just look at the chat box where PD has kindly posted the link to our feedback form. We do want to know how well we did, what can we do better so that we can serve you better in the future. Just some final reminders, once again, for those who are unfamiliar with BNI and what our organization is all about. We are the world's largest and leading business networking and referral organization in the world. We invite everyone to visit a chapter meeting near you. You can learn more about us at bnitaguig.ph. And with that, we'd like to thank everyone for your time and participation. We thank you for your positive energy, and we wish you a good rest of the week. Thank you, everyone. Let's restart the world one business at a time. Good night.